Live from the Pickleball Giants studios in San Antonio, Mike Taylor and Sam Freese.
Well, it's better late than never. Here we are, man. It's a different edition, but we're here, and you'll get plenty of outstanding content as always. And we're back, bitches. Sorry about that. Last week we were unable to do the Cowboys Overreact due to unforeseen circumstances. And so we'll do a deal tonight here on, as we record this, it's Thursday night, and we're getting ready for the big Cowboy finale to the regular season Sunday. So we'll talk a little Cowboys tonight. We'll talk some NFL, this Damar Hamlin saga, and just talk Cowboys for a little bit, just because we need to do a make good. And Puma's with me. He's back at DJLG Studios in San Antonio, Texas. Me and McGruff, the crime dog, are here.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So
I like
just
that.
moved to this apartment. I don't have it's not where it's going to be, right? It's like, you ever seen that show, My 600-Pound Life?
No, please tell me about it.
Well, it's about these great, big, fat, disgusting people that weigh like 600-700 pounds.
I would have assumed that much.
And the chronicles like 4 or 5 years of their story of after they have gastric bypass surgery. And it chronicles them throughout the months and years as they lose weight gradually. So here's the weird analogy I'm coming up with. My room right now weighs 600 pounds. But as the weeks go by, you'll see it starting to look cooler and cooler, and I won't look like I'm in the corner of a bedroom.
Okay, I'm following now.
Okay, so
I wasn't sure you were going to be able to tie that back in, but I'm following now.
We did it. I'm a professional broadcaster. So here we are. It's Cowboys Overreact 1 week late after they beat the Titans last week.
Minor detail.
Yeah, we're fine. So the Cowboys are, I keep forgetting their damn record, 12-4.
Yeah, because we still have a game to go. Yeah,
correct.
Which is still weird to think about.
They have to fly up to the land of Joe Biden this week and take on Washington, a Commanders team that has quit. It's going to start, and the Cowboys get to see some other guy that is a spare who the Commanders have just decided to go to because they don't care and they're out of quarterbacks. But a week ago, the Cowboys faced a damn quarterback that had only been on the Titans for 8 days and hadn't started in 2 years. And he was competitive, at least for the first half anyway. So, dude, I don't know this Cowboy team is, you've maintained a pretty decent level of confidence in this thing, a little bit more than me.
I mean,
Because
I said they'd win 11 games, and we're sitting here with the real potential of a
you did,
13-win season.
right, but I don't see a team that's ready to go on a Super Bowl run. You do, and I hope you're right, because that means more of these shows and more Cowboy games, and it kills radio segments too. But
Championship game run at least. That's
what Pooh
where
would
I
think.
lose confidence.
The NFC Championship game is his prediction. I reserve the right to change my mind, but I've not so far. And as I sit here now, I see a Cowboy team that's highly flawed. It's had one too many injuries. We'll see where the bracket shakes down. We'll see how the NFL reacts to the DeMar Hamlin injury, because that has an
You want an
impact on
update?
everybody.
You
Yeah,
want
I
an
do.
update on that? I sent
Well,
you. I just sent you some stuff because I just saw it come
did?
down.
Did you text it to me?
Yeah, I think it was on Twitter. I think I DM'd it because that was where I
didn't
saw
look
it.
at that. I was watching My 600-Pound Life.
Apparently, I see that now.
So I have a 110-pound girlfriend who's obsessed with My 600-Pound Life. Makes sense of that.
Somehow that makes perfect sense because it's
Okay.
well, it's because you're drawn to something you can't understand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably really hard for her to come up with the concept of someone being 6 times her size, but I would think that's like, why do you go see the mustached woman at the circus? Because you want to
That's
see.
true. You know what? I get that. And when I was a kid, my mother, of course, being Grandma Becky, she
Sure.
loved to go to those. She loved to go to those weird ass traveling carnivals that would come through and set up like at the Walmart parking lot.
They used to even do it at the state. I distinctly remember my dad forcing us, the whole family, to go see the fattest man in the world who was at the State Fair of Texas one year.
Yeah, you'd have like Fritz, the fattest man in America, and he weighed like, they say he weighed 900 pounds, but he didn't really.
He was just a fat country boy. It was
a fat dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, but like they'd have like a fat chick too. Like, this is Cindy, the fattest woman in America. They just she'd be real fat, but they'd have her in a bikini and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she could see like, okay, this woman needs to take a file to the bottom of her feet because they're crusty as hell, but she probably can't reach them. Yeah, my mother would take me to see crap like that. Of course, in like people that have like 3 nipples and
that
only
was a
one eyeball.
Big attraction. Yeah,
idiots that would put stuff in their forehead. They would try to pawn it off as being a unicorn and a medical marvel. Yeah, that kind of thing. So we're watching a show like that tonight.
So as to get back to what we were saying.
So what are we saying?
Basically, the NFL's saying officially they're not going to make it up. It's done.
Wow.
That game, and they're not going to appoint a tie. It's just the game didn't happen. They're going to base it on win percentage now to determine seeding, but there's a bunch of small dominoes that fall along with it, because if the Ravens beat the Bengals this week in the final game of the season,
they won't. But go ahead.
But if they do, apparently now it'll be a coin toss that decide, because that would mean they're playing each other in the first round of the AFC playoffs. Wow. Okay. So then that game, home field, would be determined by a coin flip between Baltimore and Cincinnati. Yeah. And then if either 2 of these 3 teams, if the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs, any combination of those 3 face each other in the AFC Championship game, it'll be held at a neutral site. And already Detroit is out of the picture for neutral site because the Ford Field is booked. So it would probably end up being Atlanta or Indy looking at a neutral site.
Wow.
It's I mean, what do you? It's probably the best way to handle it, though.
Okay. Yeah. So Bills Bengals game from Week 17 will not be resumed. The AFC Championship game could be held at a neutral site if 2 of the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs advance. Yeah. That sucks. That still sucks. Sucks for the Chiefs.
But it also,
you worked your ass off to get home field advantage.
But it takes it back into at least a somewhat fair conclusion to a extremely unfortunate scenario. I mean, because if the Chiefs still have to win Sunday against Las Vegas, which they, obviously should, but I mean, it doesn't penalize Buffalo or Cincinnati for not having. That's the more important thing, because like we were saying, all afternoon, it would have been absurd to add an extra playoff team. It would have really limited the product to push all of the playoff games back a week, so you don't get that full 2 weeks of rest before the Super Bowl. Right. Out of all of the scenarios, this one feels like solid middle ground for the league office to take.
Hell of a situation, unprecedented in my lifetime.
And Peyton Hillis, the former Razorback and Cleveland Brown legend, is in critical condition as well, because apparently he jumped in and saved his kids from drowning earlier this week. I sent you that one too. Yeah. Wow. So there's now, another NFL player has
hurt. Total Sports. Peyton Hillis, the former running back in the NFL, is in the hospital after he put his life on the line to save others. Arkansas, the Razorbacks account on the Sideline Sports Network reported Thursday that Hillis is rumored to be in critical condition after saving his children from drowning in the ocean. His kids are reportedly safe and healthy, but Peyton could use thoughts and prayers. Wow.
So then later the uncle followed up and said, I just wanted everyone to know that Peyton's doing better. He's still in intensive care and having some problems with kidneys and lungs, but the doctors say he's improving. So,
wow.
Yeah. That's a former cover athlete of Madden from a decade ago.
Right. So clearly he wasn't in Arkansas because there's no oceans there.
Yeah, it sounds like a third coast.
So he jumps into the ocean, saves his kids, but happens all the time.
Yep.
Where parents will drown saving their kids.
Or lifeguards who are tasked with saving someone else and then get taken down with them. I mean, it's just a surreal week when it comes to.
Yeah, it sounds like he should be fine though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a lot to chew on. It's Cowboys overreact. They beat the Titans 7 days ago, 27-13. Pulled away in the second half. And it's mostly brought to you by Pickleball Giant, right there at 1604 and Bitters near Rogers Ranch. The only place in town that is pickleball exclusive. There's places that sell like pickleball stuff, but it's a little end cap, 2 or 3 things to choose from per item. Pickleball Giant is exclusive to pickleball, which is far and away the rising sport right now in this country, the most rising sport in this country. I mean, every day I see pickleball, whether it's somebody wearing a pickleball shirt, or I read online that somebody has started another league, or I read in the paper that some park's going to build pickleball courts. The thing is rising and it ain't going to stop. And the only place in San Antonio to get just pickleball stuff, from paddles to gear to equipment, is Pickleball Giant at 1604 and Bitters. So thank you to Robert and Ava over at Pickleball Giant. All right, so there's no reason to talk about the Cowboys-Titans game 7 days after the fact. They're going up to play Washington, and they've got their own issues on how to handle this game, because the NFL, being the NFL, wanting to bring drama to the thing, made sure that they scheduled and they left these games TBA on times, on kickoffs this week till last week. We didn't know what the kickoff was going to be till Saturday or Sunday night. So the Cowboys game, the Eagles game against the Giants, and the 49ers game all kick off at 3:25. That way, one of those clubs won't know, oh, well, the Eagles lost, so let's go balls out and see if we can't win this division. Oh, the Eagles win, we can't win the division. Let's tank and play Cooper Rush. This prevents the Cowboys from being able to do that. And the NFL only did this because they don't want to save the integrity so teams don't tank. I think it's bullshit myself, honestly. Because what if Dak gets hurt playing in a game that winds up being meaningless because the Eagles win in the fourth quarter in a tight game against the Giants?
But that would suck. As a fan of Premier League soccer, do you not love that the league has shifted closer towards simultaneous kickoffs for the last game of the season? Because, I mean, there's Premier League games between mid-table teams that don't matter whatsoever, but they all kick off at the same time. I would love if the league would go to a full all simultaneous I mean, they won't, because it's all about money and it's all about TV contracts, but
Sure.
I love the leveling of the playing field when you have simultaneous kickoffs in the final game of the season. It feels like the logical way to handle it if money wasn't involved.
You schedule kickoffs 16 weeks in advance to start the season, but you save week 17 just for drama. As a fan, yeah, it's awesome. But I look at it from the Cowboys' perspective. If you're Mike McCarthy or Jerry Jones, it's the league doing a bit.
Sure.
And you sure would hate to get a guy hurt in a game. You don't need to. You don't. Doesn't really matter if you win or not.
But you know what Jerry Jones loves that Mike McCarthy doesn't have to worry about, and is a pain in the ass to McCarthy that's not to Jerry. Jerry doesn't care at the end of the day what seed the Cowboys are. Jerry cares that there's as many potential eyes on the product Sunday as possible.
Yeah. So McCarthy
he fully supports what the NFL is doing. McCarthy's the one that would have a problem with it.
Coaches and players too.
Exactly.
I'm sure. But it is what it is. So they kick off against Washington, and so McCarthy's message is: don't scoreboard watch, play the game, beat Washington. They suck. They're playing like dog shit. Let's go out there and get a win.
Starting a 5th-round rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Well, again, Tennessee started a guy that only been on the team 8 days the other night. So we know the Cowboys play down to the level of competition often, as does everybody else in the NFL, because it's the NFL.
Well,
so I guess the point is that you go out there and you pay attention. You let somebody else pay attention, and maybe at the half somebody tells McCarthy, "Yeah, Philly's up 21-0."
Oh,
what would you do?
I mean, I would hope that McCarthy's getting updated on every scoring change in that Philly New York game. I mean, I want McCarthy to be as up to date, because in terms of his responsibility coaching this final game of the season, it's as much about preparing the team for the playoffs as it is about winning that game, because the odds are Philly's going to take care of business. So I mean,
what's New York going to do?
Well, see, and going back
Philly's not been taking care of business.
Ironically, when it was New York that ruined, a decade ago, when it looked like they were going to, lay down and fall over, and then ended up winning the final game of the season they weren't expected to. But I would hope McCarthy is keeping as close or someone is updating him instantly when something happens, because I want that the score of that Philly New York game should absolutely change the way McCarthy is coaching in real time, depending on that score. So, I mean, if you're saying he gets an update at halftime, well, if the game's already 35-0 at halftime, I would hope he gets that update start of the second quarter, as soon as it starts to snowball against New York, because the quicker we can get some of these guys out of the game, if the game is meaningless, the better chance you make a deeper playoff run. Because if it turns out Tank Lawrence gets hurt halfway through the second quarter and it's a 28-7 game between Philly and New York, that's where I would want McCarthy to step in and say, all right, we're done here. That's a 3-touchdown lead. We're pulling everybody except for young guys that still need, snap, like we were talking about earlier, like Nashawn Wright and, Deron Bland, some of the guys that are still getting their feet wet that are going to be heavily relied upon in the playoffs.
Problem with that is that 90% of all NFL games are not 28-7 at the half or 35-0. There's a 95% chance the Cowboys go to the halftime, check the score, and the Eagles and Giants game's not been decided.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to wind up seeing a Dallas team Sunday that just has to play it straight the whole way through.
I think so too.
And the question is, and there's questions about that Philly New York game, because it's like, well, the Giants can't do anything about their seat; they're locked in. But they're the Giants, and they haven't been good in years, and they want momentum.
And they're led by Brian Daboll, who has never shown to back down or wave a flag.
I would understand if New York decided, to hell with it, let's take a knee on the game. Let's just stay healthy because we can't do anything about our seed. But I could also see where he just wants to take a bunch of momentum and risk injuries to Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones just to have the momentum. We'll see. I don't know that team. I don't watch them that much. I don't know the pulse of that team. Conversely, the Eagles are wrestling around at the worst possible time with Jalen Hurts not playing for the last 2 weeks because he's hurt. You don't want to rush this dude. You don't want to rush him out there. But or do they panic and they rush him anyway?
Well,
The Eagles might decide not. Gardner Minshew's been horrible, and the Eagles have lost. Do you want to lose 3 games in a row going into a playoff tournament in which you may or may not get the bye, or do you want to play Jalen Hurts and risk getting him hurt worse? I mean, it's a hell of a conundrum for all 4 teams that are still alive in the NFC East.
Yeah, and the Hurts
3 teams, not 4, 3
conversation.
teams.
Right. Yeah. Well, for counting Washington's involvement with Dallas on Sunday, that could play spoiler potentially for if Philly were to be losing. Because on the opposite side of that, you absolutely know, even though Ron Rivera didn't know that they could have even possibly been eliminated from that game last week until the post-game press conference when reporters told him, Coach, you're now eliminated from the playoffs. Oh, I didn't know that was possible this week. That's a fireable offense of any organization except Washington.
He's a stud. He didn't think he was going to the playoffs. The reason he didn't know.
If that, again, Dan Campbell would have known that. And they were 1-7.
Record.
Yeah. It's like
Washington's 8-8.
If the Washington, what are they 7-8-1 because they had that weird tie against? Yeah.
If they win, they beat Dallas. Washington will finish 500. You know the miracle that took
8-1.
Yeah, I forgive Rivera for not knowing.
And I do as well. But if the ownership of Washington goes through before the start of next season, it wouldn't surprise me if they move on from him. But regardless.
Anyway, okay.
Talking about specifically the Jalen Hurts conversation when it comes to, what Philly's going to do on Sunday, everything you said absolutely holds, but add to that, if Jalen doesn't play Sunday, it would have been, regardless of whatever outcome, whatever seeding they fall in, like you said, if he doesn't play Sunday, it's been over a month since he was on a football field. Where does the conversation about sharpness, about being like, are you confident that he's a guy that's just going to come back without any rust after being away from the game or away from the field for a month and then lead a deep playoff run? Because when we talked about the Dak injury earlier in the year, when he's out for 6 weeks, we prefaced his return by saying, like, look, there's going to be rust. This is the NFL. He's not going to just jump back in to performing at the highest level. And Jalen Hurts performing at an MVP level this season is the main reason Philly's where they're at right now, combined with the defense. But that's where I think the question of how sharp he's going to be if they do sit him out this week to save his health, it could still be the worst decision of the two.
Show brought to you by R&R Auto Glass, right there by the airport at 281 in Tacoma. OT6. They've been around longer than the Taylor radio show's been around, and they're still doing what they do every day. And that's fix glass in cars. No matter what kind of car you got, what kind of glass you got, they got inventory to fix it, and they'll fix it with a discount. If you mention me, get the Taylor Especial. They take all insurances known to mankind in this country. They're easy to find right there by the airport at 281 in Tacoma. Thank you to R&R Auto Glass. All right. So Puma's confident that the Cowboys are going to win a couple of playoff games. I am not. But that being said, and we'll get more into this on Sunday night when the Washington game is over, because we'll know where everybody's going then. And we got into this some earlier this week. So you've got an Eagles team that has question marks with Jalen Hurts. You and I have not bought into them all year. They now have lost 3 games, 2 in a row. I think they're starting to come back down to earth some, and they've got questions at quarterback. They're good, and they could win the Super Bowl, and it wouldn't stun me. But they're not a world beater. San Francisco looks like a world beater, except for that one small fact that their quarterback, Brock Purdy, is a rookie. As well as he's played, as good as San Francisco is around him, he's still a rookie. and rookies just don't win Super Bowls. At some point, they get exposed to a team in a postseason game finds a way to exploit them and make them pay. Minnesota's a team that's given up 40 points in a game, I think 4 times this year. They are not to be trusted. If the Packers somehow slip in, they're hot, but they're not very good. They'll be so happy. I guess the point I'm making, Tom Brady is 45 years old. Tampa's been horrible all year. They finally had a good game last week, but 90% of Tampa's games this year have been a cluster. So where I'm going with all that is, regarding the Cowboys, if not now, when are you ever going to go on a run? If you can't win a couple of playoff games at least this season with how the NFC is set up for you, then you're never going to. Maybe we brought this up earlier in the week.
That's why I'm so confident that we could finally see a deeper run than what we've been accustomed to. I mean, it's again, I think I said it earlier this week or last time we did, maybe it was Eagles game on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's not about the confidence I have in the Cowboys. It's about the lack of confidence I have in the landscape of the rest of the NFC. I mean, and it's again, there has to be some credit given to this team, to this organization, for going back-to-back 12-win seasons. That's not easy to do in this league. So again, like you said, if there's ever going to be a year, it's maintain consistency back-to-back years for the first time in 20 seasons for them. It's a weakened, watered down NFC with Tom Brady still hanging on to his greatness that buoys Tampa Bay and even makes them even halfway slightly relevant. But outside of Tom Brady, you're telling me the potential quarterbacks you're going to face in a playoff run could be Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins. It's as much about that as it is, and obviously the last wild card spot to be determined. If Aaron Rodgers gets added into this, it gets a little more interesting. But I don't think Green Bay is at the level to make a deep run. But it's as much about the amount of unknowns amongst the other NFC teams. Like, I feel like I know what this Cowboys team is. I've seen this Cowboys team. This Cowboys team is one that we've become accustomed to falling back after having a successful season, and they didn't do that. So that is at least some level of confidence that is instilled in the culture, in the foundation of what Mike McCarthy has done with this same roster, basically from one year to another. Actually less talent, you could argue, not even argue, you would say, on the offensive side of the ball. And so all of that combined, like you just said, if there's ever a year to see another deep Cowboys run, it has to be this one. It just has to be, because it's all lined up. And if it's not, if this is another first round flame out, then yeah, I think it's the days of having any confidence in this organization whatsoever until they do something productive again in the postseason. I think that's where we're stuck with, because this is the last, for a lot of people, I think this is the last bastion of hope for this organization under Jerry Jones and the current regime.
It's Cowboys Overreact, brought to you by Pickleball Giant and by JM Pool and Spa. I was on George's Stuck Nut Radio the other night.
Sounded great.
Did you watch any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't remember anything I said because I was full of THC. I think I did okay. Did I do all right?
Oh, you did great, Bubba.
Okay. And I didn't spill a bunch of dirt on the company like I was going to. I changed my mind last second. So
management appreciates that.
Kept up the other stuff. I was going to throw y'all under the bus, but I got high and didn't do it. All right, so when he's not doing Stuck Nut radio shows, George runs JM Pool and Spa, familia owned and operated, servicing usually most of you boys, northern San Antonio, lower hill country area. If you need a pool, you need a spa, you need both, that's great. Having them is awesome. Maintaining them sucks. It's wintertime, so a lot of people use their spas more than ever, but keeping them clean and keeping them afoul, keeping them away from foul shit like fungus and whatnot, mold, These boys will keep that out of there and keep that place nice and spick and span. JM Pool and Spa, the swimming pool and spa specialist. All right, we'll close with this. So we'll do this again on Sunday after the Washington game from DJLG Studios. I'll close. We'll find out if any of the Cowboys that got nominated as finalists for the Hall of Fame will get in on February the 11th. So the finalists got released. The great Darren Woodson, the Cowboys' all-time leading tackler. The great DeMarcus Ware, the Cowboys' all-time leading sack master. And the great Chuck Howley, the 5-time Pro Bowl defender who was on the all-decade team in the 1970s.
All-pro defender.
Did I say what I say?
Pro Bowl.
No. To hell with that.
Pro. Right.
All-pro.
Right.
Best at his position. 5 of the 10 years in the 70s, Chuck Howley was an all-pro, and yet somehow here we are in 2023, and he's not in. That's horseshit. He got nominated finally by the senior committee. I would expect that Chuck would get in. Woodson and Ware probably. I'll bet Woodson has to wait another year or two, which is stupid. But
I think Ware should have been in last year. Ware should have been a first-time Hall of Famer, and it was an extreme disappointment that he's still hanging around. Woody is and I hit on this a little bit earlier this afternoon. Woody's the one. Obviously, Chuck Howley, everything you said holds water, absolutely. But Woody's the one that I still, as from my generation of first becoming a Cowboy fan, it's insane to believe that he is still sitting there, not in the Hall. And I used, John Lynch as the reference. John Lynch, now obviously Hall of Fame member, longtime Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety, same position, same era, very comparable careers. Lynch was a 2-time first-team Pro Bowler. Woody was a 4-time, or first-team All-Pro, I mean. Lynch was 2-time first-team, 2-time second-team. But guy. Woody was 4-time first-team All-Pro.
Sure.
5 Pro Bowlers. And this is where, if this is the difference maker in their careers in the eyes of the NFL Hall of Fame voting committee, Woody was a 5-time Pro Bowler. John Lynch was a 9-time Pro Bowler. That's where, when you look at how you're stacking up merits, one guy was a 9-time Pro Bowler, one guy was only a 5-time Pro Bowler, but one guy was a first-team All-Pro 4 times, and the other guy was only first-team All-Pro twice. Like, I don't know how we're comparing or how we're coming up, and it does feel like the NFL has a massive backlog right now as well of some of these guys that are holding up others from getting in that are absolutely deserving. But we were talking earlier about which of the Hall of Fames has the most of the best players to ever play their sport. And the only reason I can't agree with you that it's the NFL is because how a guy like Woody is still sitting there. A guy like Chuck Howley is still sitting there. Like that, how can you have a member of an all-decade team not in your Hall of Fame? How can you have that's as arguably as bad on some levels as baseball not having their all-time home run leader in the Hall of Fame? I mean, how do you have a guy that was an all-decade player not in your Hall of Fame 50 years later?
Because the media's chock full of stupid sons of bitches. That's how. Right. And the answer to the John Lynch thing, he's a white guy playing a non-white guy position, and the media has a hard-on for white guys who play non-white guy positions.
And it's not a Cowboys bias when it comes to the Hall of Fame.
It's not. They don't. Woodson's not. They're not. If they don't. If Woodson doesn't get in, it's not because he's black. If Lynch gets in, it's because he's white.
That's correct.
And the media has a hard-on for white guys that play positions that white guys normally don't play. John Lynch was a white guy running around playing free safety, and it looked cool, and the media overrated him.
Yeah, Woody had more tackles, more sacks.
Sure. Yeah. It's bullshit. All right, there you go. I ended by being a Cowboys homer. How you like that? And playing, and I think that's what it is. White guys that play skill positions get overinflated, and not by the way, not just by media, but by fans too.
Buddy, let me introduce you to Bill Bates.
Sure. Or Brad Davis, since you brought up the Dallas
guy. There you go. Well, we're talking Cowboys. It's Cowboys Overreact. It's good to be back in the studio, too. I was talking to LG. I didn't realize it's been like over a month since I was back in the
We all got sick.
humble studios here.
It's been weird, with us all getting sick at different times and
Yeah.
overlapping sickness and shit. And I was moving, and it was the holidays, and it just felt like 30 days just kind of got zapped by outside forces. So it is good to get back in the room, even though we're doing this show a week late because of illness and stuff.
Because of forces,
Yeah, so
unbeknownst to us.
hopefully we've gotten through it now on the other side of the flipping of the calendar year. So
Well, and hopefully
we'll
the
be back.
Cowboys follow my confidence meter and make a
too.
deep run, and we've got a few more of these things ahead of us.
Hoping so. All right, if you happen to be watching this live on Thursday, we're going to be at McFinnigan's Bar tomorrow from 4 to 7 with a radio show on iHeart. Ticket $760. So come hang out and do a deal with us tomorrow at 4 to 7. I'll have tickets to sell to the 2023 Taylor's Cooking for the Kids barbecue. The first 2 dudes or girls that show up tomorrow night and enter barbecue teams for $100, I will give you a pair of drumsticks, commemorative Red Hot Chili Peppers drumsticks that Chad Smith's going to use in the upcoming gig at the Alamo Dome as incentives. So the first 2 people that show up and enter their barbecue teams will get those. I've got 2 pair. Or you can just come buy tickets and just go eat a plate and hang out with us. But anyway, so I got barbecue tickets for sale. I need to hit up a store or 2 tomorrow because I need to go find me some bedazzled jeans.
Yeah. I've been patiently holding on to it. I've been waiting to see if you would bring it up. I didn't want to be the one, but
Well, I'm not a welcher.
we're getting to the point where a conversation needed to be had to prevent any potential welching.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. So tomorrow I'm going to make a couple of Goodwill stops and see what I can come up with. All right.
Good. I'm excited.
All right.
I'm even more excited
I'm
now.
sure you are. Do you have a flat bill tap out hat I can wear?
I do not, unfortunately.
I could wear a badass cowboy hat.
Oh,
like
that'd be
old
pretty
school.
good. Yeah.
You dress up like El Chapo's grandson or something.
Dress up like the 300-seat Cowboys viewer. Dress up like the guy. Yeah. I think we could find that.
Cole Beasley jersey or something. That'd be
Ooh, now we're talking. Cold world. Cold world.
All right, man. That's it. We're done. Thanks, everybody. Sorry we were late. We had to do a make good. We're back in a few days, though. All right. So we'll do this on Sunday after a big game. And we'll sit there for a good 45 minutes to an hour because we'll overreact to the Cowboy game. And we will know what the Cowboys are going to be looking at playoff-wise. And we'll go through the whole thing for the NFL. All right, that's it. Thank you to DJ LG. Thank you to Puma. See you boys back on this show Sunday after the Cowboys and Washington Commanders. Love y'all hard.
Overreact is brought to you by Pickleball Giant.